Hi, I'm Tracy Sulfra and welcome to the Women of Wealth podcast, dedicated to helping women achieve financial independence and thrive in every area of her life. Today, it's a bit exciting for me. I'm going to be chatting with Bethany Adams, and Bethany is a member of the WOW Women community, and she recently completed the Financial Confidence Program. It is our flagship program at WOW Women. It's called Empower. And I asked Bethany to join me today and share her experience with us. So I'm going to have a bit of a chat with Bethany today, which is very, very exciting. Bethany, welcome to the Women of Wealth podcast. Can I ask you first up to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what your financial position was or your financial situation was before joining the Empower program?
Hi, Tracy, and thanks so much for having me today. It's very excited to be asked to join. So my name's Bethany. I'm 42 and I have 3 children. I came into this program, as a 40-year-old single mum of 3. I had sort of realised that after leaving a really long-term abusive relationship and finding myself as a sole parent of 3 children and solely financially responsible for them, that I had absolutely no security going into my later years in life. I had $2,500 in superannuation and no savings and no ability to save, or so I thought, and also no opportunity to give my children the things that they were starting to notice other children had, like holidays, overseas trips and that sort of thing that they'd never experienced. So I guess I'd sort of done some calculations and realised that now that I was actually able to work and was working, if I continued to work full time, by the time I reached retirement, I would probably have about $220,000 in super. And I knew that that wasn't going to be really enough for much of a life, given that I'd sort of had quite a restricted and controlled life thus far. I thought, going into my later years would be the time that I could do the things I never got to do, like travel. And I also felt quite sad that I wasn't able to give my children the things that, I really wanted to. So I just had just a little bit set aside, and I thought I was on a bit of a journey of self-discovery, of coming into my power and sort of rebuilding myself from the ground up. And I thought one of those goals that I wanted to achieve was financial literacy. And I wanted to feel financially secure within myself as an independent woman. And I saw this program. So decided, well, I can either do something or do nothing. And if I keep going the way I'm going, I'm probably not going to be able to do the things that I want to do. So I was all in. And that's what brought me to the community.
Very powerful, very powerful. And thank you for sharing those. They're not really easy things to share with other people of the emotional side and some of the things that were running through your mind. What can I ask, before joining the program, what was your biggest fear when you thought about your retirement years? What was the thing that scared you the most?
I guess the realization that I would be still living week to week and probably relying on a pension only. And because I had no health insurance, that was a concern for me, going into my later years, but is also a concern for me now, that if something was to happen to me, I had no backup, and therefore my children had no backup. And I thought, well, that just made me feel quite insecure and quite vulnerable. So as I was trying to rebuild and I was doing a good job with those sorts of things, and getting a roof over our head and trying to make a nice home and keep my children in their schools and that sort of thing, the daily struggle. That was given that everything continued to go smoothly. But if something unforeseen was to happen, there was no backup there for me, Tracy, and that was something that kept me up at night, not just for myself, but for my kids. So,
yeah, everything starts and ends with you, doesn't it?
That's right.
So what motivated you to start thinking seriously about investing for your retirement?
I guess I thought there's things out there that people know that I don't know. And, I think as part of this journey that I've sort of been on over the last 5 or 6 years, there's been a lot of things that I didn't know how to do. Like, I managed to pull together a little bit of money to buy a really rundown cottage. And I didn't know how to rip a bathroom out and put one in, but I learned. I didn't know how to take a roof off, but I learned, and I found someone who would teach me. And I literally had to learn how to do these things if I was going to reestablish ourselves and create a life for my children that they could heal and recover in, and that I could heal and recover in. And I thought, well, finance is the next step, right? Now that we have the roof, now that I've gone back to study, I've got a job, I'm building professionally, finances are the next step for me. I need financial literacy. I need to get my financial life in order. I really had no oversight over my accounts. I just knew that I was spending more than I was making, and I didn't feel there was anything I could do because we were living so frivolously anyway. So I just thought, well, I should learn. There's stuff out there to learn, and I can learn. Just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I can't learn. And I'm a family violence worker now. So I work in the field of empowering women, and I work with women who are rebuilding their life from scratch as independent, strong individuals. So I thought I'll walk the walk.
And you certainly are. So how did the Empower program help you better understand retirement planning?
I guess it helped me understand that there was sort of two options towards retirement, and that was just sit and let it tick over, and then you get to retirement and you have what you have. Or you can plan for it. And if you start planning now and even just do small little things, little actionable pieces, by the time you get to retirement, it makes this huge difference. And, when I came to the end of the program and I started to look at my retirement trajectory after going through the program, I realized that I had changed my situation in retirement from retiring with 220,000 to hopefully retiring with just under $1 million.
That's massive.
That was just through, huge, just through small changes that were achievable for me, and me being able to learning those skills through the empowerment program. Just making those changes, paying myself first, setting aside little bits and pieces and setting my accounts up.
So that was the other thing I was going to ask you. What are the financial strategies or tools did you implement that you learned that has made the biggest difference for you? What are those little nuggets you were just sharing before?
Yeah, pay myself first was a big one. Get that money, the minute the money comes into the account, get it out of the account and move it into your investment retirement plan. Move it first, and you will make do with what you have left. You make it work. And I guess that leads to my next strategy being I set my accounts up. So because I live on such a strict budget and there are lots of things that I need to plan for, kids' birthday presents, maintaining my car every year, new tyres. I also wanted to be able to set aside just $30 a week to take my kids out for some hot chips and a hot chocolate. So I have an account for that. And as soon as my money hits my account, everything shoots off into the different accounts. And then I can't touch it until I need to spend it. But it also allowed me to put aside just little amounts of money to start planning and taking my children away on little low-cost holidays in the school holidays. And for me, that was just the biggest achievement. Just, renting out an Airbnb for 2 nights down at the beach just made them so happy. And one of the things I was most proud of through using these strategies is I was able to give my eldest child for his 16th birthday last year his and my first trip overseas.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and I will do that for my other 2 children for their 16th. That's one of my goals, and the strategies have allowed me to give that gift, and I couldn't have done it otherwise.
When you talk about the strategies of obviously paying yourself first and then being very strict about where the monies go in terms of banking, that complete structure, which is pivotal to the program, it really, without that, you can't really invest. But for anyone listening and thinking, oh gosh, that's so strict, I'm not sure I could be, it feels, I'm just wondering if people are watching and going, oh, I'm not sure I really want to do that because it feels so tight and restrictive. Can you share? Because I know it's actually quite the opposite. I know that. I created the program. But can you share with everyone the liberation that it gives you that structure actually provides? It's not, I'm sort of answering your question, but is this making sense? Can you share that side of it a little bit, Bethany?
It's quite the opposite. You're right, because it actually means you're in control and you don't have to constantly worry, oh gosh, I really need to service my car. I'm 2 months late to service my car. I've got to try and find that money, or I just know that school bus fee is coming up. You don't need to worry about those things because you've planned for it and the money is sitting there without you having to do anything, without you having to remember. That strategy of having everything automated means you don't have to remember those things. You don't have to worry about them. So it's actually quite empowering to have it that's, I guess, that ordered and in place. Makes you feel like I actually have my financial life in order and I'm in control of my financial life. And I feel, as women, I think there's something as well that happens for us where we're like, oh, I can do this on my own.
100%.
Yeah.
How awesome does that feel? How like I feel like putting my arms up. It's like that moment of
it's amazing.
getting to the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. And I think, it really is.
Describe for me how the mentorship or the coaching provided within the program helped guide your decisions.
Oh, gosh, I couldn't have got through without the mentorship. There were quite a few times when I felt I couldn't complete it. If I'm honest, Tracy, I felt so spread thin as a single mum, because of the abuse I'd experienced. I have a cognitive impairment also. I was trying to rebuild our lives from nothing and get used to being a full-time working mum and juggle everything. And doing the program was hard for me. It was really hard for me to find that time because, kids' sports and driving children everywhere and appointments and work. And so the mentorship part of the program was pivotal. It gave me someone to talk to about that, but also someone to just gently keep a hand on the back and say, just try and get through this week. Just try and do that one little module. It doesn't have to be big strides. You don't have to be keeping up with everyone else in the group. You can just do what you can do. So without it, I probably would have just, dropped out because I just felt I couldn't take another thing on my plate. I'm so glad I didn't. And I couldn't have done it without the mentor, if I'm honest. So, to thank
It is
Karen for that.
challenging with such, particularly coming from where you've had to build yourself back up again. It's extraordinary how far you've come. It's a real credit to you, Bethany. I'm going to talk a little bit about, or wanting to understand a little bit about your approach to saving for retirement. How has that changed since joining the program, and any specific actions you've taken to build your nest egg and secure your retirement?
So before the program, my retirement plan was purely just whatever superannuation went into my super account through my work. That's what I accepted as what I would have. And I didn't realize that I had agency over changing that. So I'd done my calculations. I learned through the program to hop on my super account, and use the calculator to figure out where I'd be. And I was like, gosh, 220,000 to retire on. That doesn't sound like much of a life. That sounds pretty strict. So some of the things that I implemented through the program was, first of all, I, of course, got to know my super. I learned how it works. I looked into my superannuation account and assessed whether or not I was in the right one. Was it working hard for me? How do I assess whether or not my super account is performing well? I also learned that, given my age, I was able to go with like a higher risk level of super. And so I went to my super account and set up a time with them to talk through. And I've moved into, more of a long-term investment plan where there was a higher risk, but also potentially a higher gain over long term. I contacted my work and I asked them to just take an extra $40 out every week and put it into my superannuation account. And I calculated on the super website what that would amount to. Then I set up a StockSpot account and I learned how to do that through the program. And I made my first contribution. And I started off small and slow because I was very, very nervous. I had never invested in shares before. But I, of course, learned about diversification and I learned about StockSpot and, the value of just small contributions each week is better than one big lump sum going in when you have it. So I just set it up and started off with $25 a week that I was assigning into an account and then making a deposit. That was coming automatically out of my pay. And then as I felt a little bit more comfortable and a bit more confident and my finances were a bit more under control, I moved it to $50 a week. And then I eventually moved it to $75 once I felt I really had a handle on things.
Brilliant.
So I think I've moved into sort of investing in the whole diverse range of investments through StockSpot, and I can start to see that it's just starting to make some money. So it's good.
It's great to hear all of this feedback from yourself. Putting a program like this together and understanding the value of it, but seeing it go out into the world and people experiencing it, using it, putting it into action is just surreal, and it's a credit to you what you've been able to do and understanding the value of the little bit here and the little bit there over a long period of time and implementing those things. A lot of the time, Bethany, people take it for granted and they think, what's $25 a week going to do? That's not going to save me. Well, over 20 years, yeah, absolutely, it's going to make a massive difference. Do nothing, get nothing, do something, and you're that much further along. Can you share an example of a key financial insight or that light bulb, bing, moment that had a major impact on your planning? Is there something like that you can share with us?
I think for me, it was the moment that you were speaking about just start. just start, just make a start somewhere. It doesn't require a huge amount of money and it doesn't have to be a high risk, fad or something like that, but just start. And just being able to start small until you get your sea legs, until you start to go, oh, okay, I understand how this works. And I feel safe enough to just, invest just a little bit more. And I can see that. So I think for me, that was the pivotal moment when I just went, I just need to just start somewhere. And it's so low risk that, because I don't have any money to lose, so I can't do high risk investments. So I thought, but if I just start somewhere and then just see if I'm comfortable, see if this is for me. You can always increase it as you go along. So I think that was the real moment where I thought, I don't need to be fully ready. I don't need everything in order. I don't need this huge amount of money to be able to take just the first step. I think that was a really important moment for me to realize I could start with what I had, which wasn't much.
That's brilliant, yeah. Bethany, because I can't sort of hone that in enough, the fact that there is a massive misconception in the investment industry, the financial planning industry. My industry doesn't help, the media doesn't help. There's all these preconceived ideas that investing is for rich people, investing is with big lump sums of money, and who am I to invest, and I don't know enough about it. We're in 2025 and technology is off the charts. We're entering an AI period. If you don't know how to get tech to help you do this, maybe 20, 30 years ago, you had to go to experts. You didn't have the power in your hands. We have the power in our hands. What I will say, a quick disclaimer there, be careful who you listen to. Having said that, at the same time, there's a lot of scams out there. And as women, I always say, use your intuition, use your gut instinct. If it's too good to be true, it generally is. When you're unsure, make sure you're sticking to, I guess, the community of, and that's why WOW is so important, the community of people that there is the credibility, there is the trust, there is the honesty. Come back to your community and, check in with that. But having the excuse of it's for everyone else and it's not for me, those days are gone. And the fact that you started at 25 and went to 75, that's massive. That is massive. So I congratulate you on that. Tell me about... it is called the Financial Confidence Program, Empower. Tell me about your confidence in managing your money and retirement. How has that grown? How's your confidence grown as a result of that program? How did you feel before and how do you feel now? And now is not the end, by the way, as you know, because money is a lifelong journey, so it will continue to grow. But tell me a little bit about your level of confidence.
Gosh, that's changed hugely. Information is power, particularly for women, I think. And I know that through recovering from, acute an abusive relationship. And, I work with women in recovery therapeutically, and information truly is power. Understanding the nuances of different things allows you to get a handle on them, pull them apart and make sense of things and then make informed choices. And I think financially it's no different. A lot of women are disempowered financially, in life and through communities and through society, and in our interpersonal relationships. And it just doesn't need to be that way. So I think I felt that was my experience. I felt really disempowered. I felt scared about if something happened, and I felt completely ill-informed or, just was not aware of how money worked and how you could make it work for you. So, now I feel like I know how much is coming in. I know where everything's going. I feel confident that I can pay all of my bills. I don't have any a lot left over the week, but what I do have left over, I'm investing in my future in something that I'm really confident and informed on. I feel I understand it, and that's really empowering. And I feel confident that I'm going to be able to have a retirement that I'm happy with and I can look forward to. So that was not the case for me before I did this program. I just felt quite vulnerable in my retirement and in my, current circumstance. So all of that has changed, and I feel, completely confident and empowered in my financial knowledge and abilities now. So,
And that will continue to grow,
massive
Bethany.
change.
Tell me about
That's
any
right.
misconceptions or fears about retirement planning that you were able to overcome through the program.
I think that big one that, you need to be wealthy and have a lot of spare capital to be able to change your circumstances. I think that's the biggest thing. And it took me a little while into the program for that penny to drop, I think, that I could just start with what I had. So I think that was probably the biggest misconception. And I thought, it was just my lot, as a middle-aged mum of 3 children, that I was just going to probably live a pretty ordinary life in my retirement. So I guess I also, for me, was really working as well towards breaking down those misconceptions that money isn't for women, and that it's men's business. And I very much work very hard in my advocacy work, and as my work as a family violence practitioner, to break down those misconceptions in life. So anything that works towards empowering women to be independent and to stand on their own 2 feet, I'm all for. And that doesn't mean you can't be in a relationship. It doesn't mean you can't be married. But just because, you partner with someone does not mean you have to lose your financial independence. I think that for anything creates healthier relationships between people because, if you are with someone, you're there because you want to be. You can leave at any time. You have the financial ability to do that. But if you're there because you want to be, never because you have to be. And I think that that's healthy for each person in a relationship going forward. So, I feel quite confident in, I guess, relaying those messages to the women I work with as well. So
I couldn't have said it better myself, Bethany. Beautifully said, beautifully said. How would you describe the Empower program to someone who is just starting their retirement planning journey?
Oh, I think for me, I would sort of say just start. I think I would give that advice. Just start. But I would also really describe it as a really safe community of women supporting women for women. Because I work with women in my job and I work towards improving things for women in our communities as a whole, there was something very safe and secure about a group of women coming together to support each other in something that inadvertently is a space where there is a power imbalance and there is disempowerment and there is inequality largely still within our communities. So there's something quite sort of visceral and energetic about a group of women coming together to say, well, if we want to see change, we will do it. Someone hand us the tools and we'll build it ourselves. And there's something, when women get together that just creates that safe space to go, you know what, we're all in the same boat here. We're all a little out of our comfort zone and we don't really know what we're doing, but we've got each other's backs, even though we don't know each other. It's the unspoken word. So it definitely felt safe for me. Had it not have been that kind of environment, I definitely wouldn't have had the same experience. So
Yeah. And that is one of the key elements of making sure that people feel safe and seen and heard but a non-judgmental space where they can actually let down the guard, take the mask off and just be themselves in order to rediscover themselves and progress forward. That's really important given in a society where there's so much of that going on.
And I noticed that in the group that a lot of us came to this space with similar stories, you know, or something has gone on in our life and we'd walked a bit of a rocky road and kind of felt quite depleted when we arrived, you know. So I think it was very interesting that women could come together and be vulnerable and go, well, you know, I've had a bit of a hard time, but you just know that you're held in that space. So that definitely created additional safety.
Where do you think you'd be right now, Bethany, if you hadn't invested in the Empower program?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, still very terrified about my future and if something happened to me, definitely. I certainly wouldn't have been able to take my son overseas in a million years. And I certainly wouldn't have been able to already create these little mini holidays, every school holidays for my kids where I'm creating memories. It would still be the same where we're the ones staying at home. You know, even those little outings on the weekend that I put $30 a week aside for, we wouldn't be doing those. You know, so I think I would just still be in the same place, honestly, which is just, yeah, vulnerable. And I don't want to be vulnerable. I want to be strong and powerful, and I want to, you know, command my own ship. And, you know, I've had enough of my life taken from me, and I very much, you know, get up every morning and go, I will decide what comes next for me. So, yeah, I also love the fact that I can share what I know with other women.
So just on that, what advice would you give other women if they're considering joining the program? What advice would you give these women?
I would say do it. Join. Like, you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And, you know, to take financial literacy and to be empowered and informed in that space is one of the greatest gifts you can give to yourself. Yeah. So just little things, I think. You know, meet a lot of girls, young girls with babies or about to have a baby, and I hear myself saying now, I'm like, now if you're taking time off work, just make sure your husband's putting some money into your superannuation account, and vice versa. If he stays home with the kids and you're working, you do the same. I'm like, don't do what I did, you know, and get to midlife and have no superannuation, nothing to show for it. So, you know, women pass the torch, don't we? We share knowledge, courage, strength. When we have it to share, and we share.
And you sharing here, right now with me is going to have major impact to all the women that are listening, because everyone has a story to tell. Everyone has lived a life. Everyone has had an experience, good, bad, challenges, great. You know, it's not all bad. It's great times, challenging times, but it's all about giving individuals, man or woman, an individual the ability to stand in their own space uncompromised. And money is one of those things that you were talking about, all those experiences with your kids. That all takes money. So, you know, when I say it's not just about the money, it's what money can give. Money is not a dirty word. It's not something we shouldn't talk about. Money is power.
That's true.
And it gives, it's by listening to you, it's given you your power back, not only to be able to guide your life, make the decisions for yourself. You've actually put it all into practice through the tools and the lessons and the learnings in the program, and you're living it now. You know, the fact that you've implemented all that is why you have had the overseas trip and the mini holidays and, you know, all of the things that you've just shared with us. That's extraordinary. How do you feel about your financial future now that you have a clearer plan for retirement? How does it So when you step out of the past and, you have stepped into your future, how does it feel now? How do you feel about your financial future? What does that feel like? I'm for those listening, I'm pointing to my chest, like inside your heart and soul, that innate feeling. What does that feel like?
I mean, I'm excited, to be honest. I'm planning all the things I want to do when I'm older. So all the places I want to go to, and I just feel safe and I feel strong. I feel like I can make my own choices in life because I have that financial piece in place. Whereas without that financial piece, you just feel like life's slave a little bit, and there's not a lot to live for. Like, poverty is exhausting. And although I earn the same amount of money now, I don't feel like I am, pushing that boulder of poverty up a hill every single day, because I'm making really good use of my money and I'm creating safety and security for myself. So I feel really excited about my future. I didn't feel like that before. I felt terrified. So, that's wonderful. I couldn't have done that without the Wow Women program.
That's powerful. Everything that you've shared with us is powerful and it's life-changing, and I congratulate you on where you are today.
Thanks,
because
Tracy.
as I always say in the program and in the live Q&As every week, the program is there, as you know. You've invested time, money, but you've got to play full out. We always talk about playing full out at WOW. And what that means is you got to roll up your sleeves and you got to do the work, because it's not I'm no one's fairy godmother. I don't have a wand. In life you want something, provided you're provided with all of the right tools and the support, the community, everything. You've got to get in there, and you wouldn't be where you are today, Bethany, had you not played full out, clearly. And this is what I talk about all the time. Those who succeed, those who get the most traction, are people like yourself who have played full out. And, the only time you fail is when you give up. And at WOW, there's no such thing as giving up. We just keep going, good, bad, or indifferent. Some days are good, some days aren't so good. But, that's life. So you can't give up on yourself. Thank you so much for sharing all of those wonderful stories and, just what's in your heart, mind and soul with us today. I so appreciate it. And
Thanks,
I'm so
Tracy.
excited for what is ahead of you. And you are an inspiration, really, given where you've come from, and sharing that with us and us really getting an understanding. Those 3 kids are very, very lucky kids. Well done to you, Bethany. Thank you for your time
Thanks,
today.
Tracy. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. If you would like to explore what our Empower program can do for you, then make sure that you're booking a call with one of our financial strategists. We are here to help navigate making those decisions that align with your values and become life-changing like Bethany. So you simply have to go to wowwomen.com.au and click on the link to our programs. Best of all, the call is free, so there is no obligation. And you owe it to yourself to make that call. If you found today's episode particularly helpful, please share it with a friend, leave a review if you wish, and don't forget to subscribe to our episode so you never, or our podcast so you never miss an episode. And until next time, take control of your wealth and your future.